Hi. So this is a video on well-being theory, I believe, which is um, which is basically the most important subject of them all. But really, it's almost cheating because it's by definition, because the most natural definition of important that would fit in the most context is which has the most impact on well-being. So it's kind of cheating to say that it's the most important subject because it's almost true vacuously by definition. So, with this somewhat special intro, well-being theory. So, well-being theory is about, wow, well-being, a word that already exists in our vocabulary, and which many philosophers think that it's ill-defined, or that it doesn't mean anything, that it's not precise enough. Well, in some sense, no word is precise enough. But the first claim I want to make here is that well-being actually exists. And this is a really cool claim, and crazy claim, and basic claim in the same context. So, like, really, the way we teach well-being to 5 years old is actually true. And philosophers get confused about good, evil, bad, well-being, not well-being, being hurt. But really, it's simple. Like, sometime you feel more happy in the moment. You feel well because I don't know, maybe you love someone or you accomplished a certain feat or you eat ice cream. Maybe it's as simple as this. And in those times, you'll have a great well-being. But in other times, you're hurt because someone hurt you, someone insulted you. Maybe you stuck your toe against the chair or something. Maybe you ate your tongue. You see what I mean? Like, I think eating is not the best word here, but sometimes your tongue, it hurts. So the first reason why well-being actually exists is that we observe it. Like at each moment in time, you observe that you have an experience of your well-being, and also we know it exists by natural selection because when we and our ancestors evolved, well, sometime we died our ancestors, not us. In principle, you're alive if you're looking at this. And so this filters out in the brain the capacity to classify stuff, whether it would help us to survive or not. And this is the same thing as well-being. Well-being coincides with the experience we have when we look at something that natural selection has trained us to recognize as something that would make us survive. So natural selection predicts the existence of well-being, and we observe it. So if you want to be a bit mathematical, the great way to model this mathematically is as W. So this is the real number of well-being. Uh, when you have a human, which is human number I, might be you, I don't know, and in a certain time t, then you have well-being associated with it, which is basically you can model it as a real number. Uh, that's the thing. And the well-being is basically the principle that governs humans. Like, if you want to answer the question, what do humans do? Well, they follow their well-being in the short term. That's basically what governs humanity. That's what governs the world. If well-being, if you're really good at modeling, can predict what human will do. And it's also at the same time the answer to the question, what's the goal of life? So if you integrate, well, okay, that's kind of mathematical. So if you integrate over all time this function w, that's not a clean w. Okay, I'll just write with this. If you integrate your w of hi with respect to time, then this is equal to a certain number, which I'll call big num w of I, which is the total well-being that the person will experience in his life. And in a certain sense, the most natural goal of life that we have is to have this number, W of I, the most high possible. Which, it corresponds to the sentence that the goal of life, or the most natural goal of life, is to be the happier you can and to live the most happy and fulfilled life. Where here, fulfilled and happy are pretty much, they say the same things. Yes, so we have the goal of life with this. And you might say, well, it's not like we don't seem really to have a God that is like, this is your goal of life, but we have a brain that has been shaped by natural selection, and so that has a natural goal, which is well-being, and which make this big WI being the goal of life. Really, it's not like the basic is not that complicated. This is just it. And it's such a shame that this is never taught, that people, so many philosophers and people are just confused and think that you cannot precisely or more precisely speak about good and evil. So then something that you can ask is, okay, this is good and all, this is well-being, but can you classify in a one step more concrete way the sources of well-being? And I really worked on that like years ago, and I could do, it's not a rigorous mathematical proof, but kind of by exhaustion, I really created an independent and complete classification of well-being. Not a rigorous proof, but a really, really worked out classification. So I'm going to present this classification of well-being. In a sense, this is super useful. Oh, classification. Because usefulness, in a general sense, is most naturally defined by upgrading well-being. So you would want to know what, on a more concrete level, uh, creates and makes well-being. So you would want to classify the source of well-being. This is really one of the most important questions, and really it's almost again tautological, because important is really defined by that has the most impact on well-being, on your well-being, if you're a human, say. Which I guess you should be a human. Maybe you're an AI of the future, whatever, this is still interesting to you. So the first part of the classification, I have 7 sources, general sources of well-being. So the first is self-accomplishment. So this is an important source of well-being, which is basically, well, you feel happy when you can experience the fact that you've accomplished something, whether it be in knowledge you've acquired, and then you're like, oh, I'm a savant in something, or an accomplishment in sports, like if you're a runner, or if you're a fighter and you've won medals or whatever, like being high in a certain hierarchy of competence makes you more happy, and having no hierarchy of competence where you have accomplishments make you less happy. Then you have meaning, which is basically yeah, which is the presence of goals, not having the void in your head of not having a future, but really having a direction where something, where this is a real source of happiness. Like you can have all of the source of happiness and not this one, and it be impactful in a sense. Like having something but being void. This is something that certain people experience. It's not like I have everything, so I don't really. This is not less my thing, but whatever. Then you have, yeah, intimate relationship. Relate relationship. This is not. This is not how you write relation. I think. Whatever. So, yeah, that's not at all how you write relation. So, intimate relationship is a great source of well-being, of course. Like when you're in love or when you have close friends, you're more happy. This is something that people tend to experience. And if you're lonely, you can be lonely at the intimate level, but not be lonely at a more social level, because the next one is social recognition. Um, Social recognition is basically, uh, how other people perceive you as an important, trustworthy, and nice people, like, and not it's not particularly in an intimate way, but more in a general societal normed way. And if you're not recognized as someone trustworthy or nice by others, then it will impact negatively your well-being. Then you have serenity. So serenity is the absence of stress, of um, mental warnings of something that could hurt you. Like I don't know if you have presentations, or maybe if you're purchased, if someone is hunting you down, this will surely affect your serenity in a negative way, which will make you less happy. Then you have physical health. Like if you have a cancer, you're hurt physically and it impacts negatively your well-being. This is quite direct. If you hurt yourself in a profound way, you'll be less happy in general. And physical health is often taken for granted for young people when it shouldn't really. Then you have contemplation of aestheticism, which is basically when you contemplate your environment, and it might be organized and pretty and pleasant to the view. It might be also to contemplate a certain piece of art. It can be auditive too, like to contemplate a great song. So this is basically all the classification of well-being of a first level uh, behind the existence of well-being. And this is complete. Really, well, this is really complete. I tested it a lot, and those sources of well-being are independent, which means that you can have every one of them, but not one. Like you can like only one, and this will impact your well-being. But you will still be greater off like having all of them and not one than not having any, of course. Um, so one thing that's really cool is like if you want to be more happy, which is basically the goal of your life, you can just go through this classification and be like, okay, what could I change in my life to be better off here? Am I cool here? Am I cool? Am I not cool here? Whatever. And then you can just upgrade your life in a more concrete manner rather than just saying well-being is the goal of life, which is true. But going into precision and specification of abstract concept is useful, of course. Am I erasing this? Okay. Then there's something that's really nice conceptually, which is that why well-being exists? It exists because of natural selection, because it is the filter in the human brains that direct this brain towards what made us survive millions of years ago. So if you had a classification of well-being, like you could expect that every source of well-being is actually something that would make us survive millions of years ago. And this is perfectly true. Like, this is so satisfying to just notice. Self-accomplishment, which is being high in social hierarchy and being competent in something, was clearly something that made you survive. Skills made you survive. So recognition of your own skill, it completely makes sense that it makes you happy because it helps survive. Having meaning, so having a direction towards something that would make your environment better and make you survive rather than having complete void. This is also something that really is great for surviving. So it makes sense that meaning is something that makes human helpful. It also makes sense because someone that has no meaning, um, it it doesn't help the community, so it doesn't help surviving neither. Like helping other is actually something that gives meaning and can help surviving and human well-being in your community. Then intimate relationship, well, this is quite direct. Like reproduction, having a partner is quite direct to survival of the species. So it completely makes sense that intimate relationship is a source of well-being. For social recognition too, like if you're recognized by your tribe as someone not trustworthy or someone mean, then this is not good for survival. So this makes sense that social recognition is a source of well-being. For serenity also, like of course, if you're aware that you're threatened by, I don't know, a tiger close to you, well, you might be stressed, and it's because it's not great for your survival to have threats around you. So it makes sense that having no threats makes you happy. For physical health too, being injured is not great for surviving. So it makes sense that when you're not injured, you are more happy. And contemplation of aestheticism, here too, if your environment is organized, pretty, and generally speaking, sources of aestheticism, if you really think about it, are aligned with what environment made us survive and are aligned towards stuff that made us survive in a general sense. And of course, in a statistical sense, you have certain sources of aestheticism which are rare in humans, which are weird and doesn't align with survival. But they are more rare. Like and they exist because of genetic anomalies. Like every human is different, and by natural selection, the general population have the same sources of well-being, the same sources of aestheticism, but because of the existence of anomalies and genetic anomalies, some people just have weird sources of aestheticism. But in the general sense, this coincides with survival. So this is really a great thing to just recognize that the goal of life, the naive word of well-being, good and evil in a sense. I'll talk a bit about this just after this. And natural selection and survival all coincides within the same framework in a complete and coherent manner. This is great. So then I want to talk about collective well-being. So when you have a society, to say you have a society with like people in it, of course. So you have human one, human two, etc., towards human n. Well, then you can define the average. I'll use this. The average of the total well-being over the lives of the people in your society. It's a pretty natural thing to consider. So the average of the sum of those big WI, which is the total well-being of the people. And this is called collective well-being, which is a very natural concept. I mean, it is the average of the goal of life of basically people in your society. And something that's really great here is that philosophers are often really confused with good and evil, good, bad, with morality, and one can just see that the very natural definition of morality is actually uh, stuff that increases because morality is generally uh, about stuff, quite general, that increases collective well-being. In the sense that an action is moral if and only if it increases collective well-being of the society. This is really a good, like, the natural definition of the underlying object, which is way more precisely defined than people and confused philosophers might think. This is really great. And good and evil can also be defined in that way. Well, of course, good and bad are relative to the well-being of whom you're talking about. But if you want to classify a good action for a society, well, this is the same thing as a moral action, and this coincides logically and naturally with an action that would upgrade your collective well-being, which is the upgrading here of this collective well-being. This is just cool because so many people are confused with good, bad, the goal of life, and naive word that is well-being. And in fact, just logics, natural selection, and this like ensures and clears out so many confusions. This is good. This is really the core of what's important itself by definition almost.